What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Clearly Distorted podcast, where we discuss our clearly thought out ideas shared through our distorted lens. I'm Damien. That's Julian and the one and only Patricia. What's up, guys?
What's up, guys? I'm sorry. What's up, guys?
Oh, man. You guys got anything
What up,
going
peoples?
on? You guys got any special plans this weekend? Anything fun you getting into?
Just spending some quality time with my family.
Yo, check this out.
I'm
sorry.
my answer.
Go ahead. I'm proud of that.
I'm gonna go buy a box.
You're gonna what?
I'm gonna go buy a box. Very nice big box.
You're gonna buy a box. Oh, okay. Y'all don't know what she's referring to, but
Anyway, I will actually tonight.
It's an inside joke.
Yeah, let's keep it that way.
Inside.
Just kidding.
My wife and I are gonna be doing something for the first time that actually I don't know if it's her first time, but it's definitely my first time.
Sex.
Bro, we have children.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Moving on. Go ahead.
Do you have kids together?
No.
Okay then.
You're gonna have a baby.
Jesus.
She got you a box from the back.
Wow. You got the box, Damien.
What?
She gave you the box?
I'm not doing this with you guys.
Oh.
What are you doing? What are you gonna do?
I'll try to stay on track with this podcast. Maybe.
All right. So let's start this part. Let's start this over. Not for the podcast, but just to focus back on the conversation. So what are you doing this weekend, Damien?
I will be going on my first double date ever. I've never been on a double date. You guys ever been on a double date?
In your life or just with your wife?
Ever in my life. I've never been on a double date before.
Like, you've never gone with another couple out on a date?
So would you call that a double date?
That is
what
a
do you
double
call
date.
a double date? Oh, hold up a minute.
No, see? No, I don't think, I mean, okay, well, I guess maybe.
You sound like this is the first time you're going swinging. Like,
I told you he was getting a box.
I'm regretting
my wife and I, for the first time, are gonna swing. And that's what it sounds like you're saying. You've never done a double date before. He said it was his first
time, as if he were to be a virgin or something.
Yeah.
I mean, Damien, you really, really opened the door yourself for stuff like this.
It's not me.
So you're gonna go on a date with another couple.
Well,
are you guys gonna
for the first time
not a couple?
Drink?
It's not a couple, and maybe that's why I see it a little differently.
Now I'm really fucking confused.
It's
a double date, but it's not a couple.
Shut the fuck up.
Are you guys gonna go out with dogs?
It's a friend who is on a date with someone for the first time and wants some company.
So you're
a chaperone?
I guess, just,
So you're just that is a double date.
Right. That's what yeah.
So the only difference, so you've done this before, the only difference is that the person, they're going to go on a blind date and they're bringing you guys along.
It's not a blind date. It's just the first date.
Okay, well. Oh, well, sounds like my weekend is a lot better just cleaning and doing laundry downstairs.
Yeah.
You'll have a good time.
I think we'll have a good time. I mean, she's super dope, so hopefully the dude is
So
cool.
the friend is a female?
Yes.
Okay. And is a friend of mutual friend, or is this like a friend of your wife's or you or
Joanna's friend?
Joanna's friend.
Yeah, I've hung out with her a few times. She's cool. She was at the wedding too.
Oh, cool. Well, I hope you have a good time. I hope the guy doesn't turn out to be a creep.
Man, that would be like really awkward if he's like a
Please
dick.
keep your phone and camera ready.
Yeah.
Just never know.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. First for me anyway that I can think of. I mean,
Imagine if he's like
do you
really,
count like
really
if you
weird.
go out, if you go out with like your
He's
friend
really-
and the wife, that you call that a double date? If y'all just go hang out, like that's
Yes.
okay. Well,
Yeah, it's double date.
What do you call a double date?
I don't know. I mean, to me, like if you're just hanging out with your friends, you're just hanging out. But like if you,
I mean, if you're hanging out with your friends and you guys are going to like a restaurant or a bar or whatever, and it's just couples, that's kind of like a double date.
yeah, I guess. Right.
Or did you have in mind that double dating is when like two couples go out and they interchange? Couples?
No.
Swinging, yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Damon's like, you take mine, I'll take yours, sort of thing.
Oh my God. Man.
Tell us the truth, Damien. What are you really doing?
Listen, I will. The truth is, I'll punch somebody in their fucking face for even looking at my wife the wrong way. So I'm.
Oh, you're one of those.
Definitely not.
Don't take your
that.
gun.
He's one of those, right? Yeah. It's like, are you looking at my wife?
Not that crazy, but don't disrespect. That's all I'm saying.
Wait, okay, so let me ask you a question. Wait, time.
Yeah, okay.
Let me ask you a question.
What's disrespect? Go ahead.
I would like men's opinion, right? If your girl, your wife, your girlfriend or whatever, if she's wearing something super provocative, like boobs are busting out, super short skirt, the booty's like almost hanging out, and men are looking at them, do you guys get upset about that? Damien, that's for you.
I wouldn't. No. Just, it depends. Like, of course, someone's going to look. I would look if I was in their position, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like when it turns to gawking or, like staring with, you see someone and you recognize that they're with someone, right? Like perfect example. Yesterday I was in Home Depot and we're walking through and there's a guy and all of a sudden out pops this woman who was very shapely and they're walking opposite direction of me. Because I saw she was with her husband, like I didn't, you know what I mean? Like, have some
respect. Your neck.
Yeah, have some respect.
But that's not what I'm asking.
For me, I just want to say this because I think what you're saying it makes sense. I'm sort of on the same page, but I don't. Depending on how your partner is dressed, are they dressed to get that kind of attention? Because if you're dressed a certain way to where it's not just I'm looking cute, I like the way I look, but if you're dressed a certain way where you want to walk into a room and have everyone stop what they're doing and stare at you, then if I'm that person's partner or with them, I have to know what the situation is. You can't get angry at people who are staring at someone who's half naked. So you have to probably have that conversation with your partner.
There's a line, and you can tell when that line's
you have to have that conversation. But I've seen dudes get bent out of shape when they are standing with a woman who basically looks like she should be at a beach, and they're at Walmart, and they get pissed off that some people are staring at them. Like, you got to know what you're doing. Like, you got to be self-aware of what's happening. But now if she's wearing just normal clothes and there's a little cleavage showing and some dude is breaking his neck to look at her, that's disrespectful. That could be a problem.
Yeah.
But
across the line. You
don't have to react. Sometimes just a little eye contact is enough.
Damien's like,
no, I don't. I've never been that guy where I'm just like jumping out the gate, but like I'll make eye contact. There's things you can do before it gets to that point. But if it's just
I got a scenario.
You flash your gun?
No, I would never. I would never.
I got a scenario.
I would never.
Here's the scenario. So you at a restaurant with your wife And the waiter, the server, he's super nice to your wife the whole time. Little short with you, but he's super nice to her, super polite, very accommodating, smiling at her. Then midway through, he's like, "Can I just say, you're absolutely beautiful." How do you react to that, Damien?
I can't. I would be a hypocrite if I had a problem with that.
But you do have a problem with it, right?
No, it's just, again, as long as the line is not crossed.
My husband would not.
Let me flip that.
With that.
So how about if she's smiling back and she blushes and says, "Thank you"?
I mean, she should.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, Patricia, let's pose that to you. You say your husband would not be cool with that. So how do you think he would react?
I don't want to think about it. He would not appreciate that. He would see it as a disrespect.
It just depends on how it's done. Like, I've been in the service industry, and I know, you do things to. He could really feel that way, but a lot of times people
get a good tip
to get a good tip.
Yeah.
I remember one time at the Palm, the steakhouse. She asked for
She Joe, you mean?
The restroom. No, this was years ago. Yeah, you had.
What's going on? You said she.
That was the weirdest pause, I think. Okay, let's go.
We'll edit this part, but I said she for a reason. Thank you, Patricia.
We will not edit this part.
No, it's getting edited. I won't. I'll cut it out myself. So now I'm not even finishing the story.
All right, yeah. You want to cut the story out? Oh my God, this guy.
The FTC government is suing Microsoft and trying to stop their merger with Activision, which is one of the largest, what would you call them, Julian, game creators?
Their Activision is a publisher.
Okay. And the reasoning the FTC is providing is that this would be considered a vertical merger that could lead to Microsoft restricting other outlets from Microsoft games or Activision games themselves, which would allow them to boost pricing and impact consumers. But we know not everything is so simple and as clear as it seems. And so when digging into it, kind of looks like that's not really the case. So what is this all about?
So I will, because I'm the only gamer here, really. I follow the gaming industry. In fact, I even did a video game channel at one point. So it's something that
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Something I'm passionate about. So first of all, FTC, Federal Trade Commission, this decision is actually being supported by Democrats. Bernie Sanders is even one of the Democrats that, came out and supported the FTC going after Microsoft. And I think this is one of those cases where politicians are looking at corporate conglomerates and they're applying that thought process to this. And you can't really do that here. So a lot of this is happening because Sony, who operates PlayStation, is upset because Microsoft would be able to acquire such of a large company like Activision. Now, the reason why, for those who don't know, is Activision.
Microsoft is, for those who don't know, Microsoft.
Yeah, I'm getting into all of that. Yeah. So Microsoft has their platform, Xbox, Sony has their platform, PlayStation. So different video game companies make games for these different platforms, whether it's Nintendo, whether it's Xbox, whether it's PC, whether it's PlayStation. So not every publisher, not every video game maker will make for any specific platform, but Activision is one of the largest publishers in the world, video game, creators or whatever. And they have one of their franchises is probably the biggest video game franchise out there, one of them, and it is Call of Duty. And Sony has been making an argument that if Microsoft owns Activision, at some point they can take Call of Duty off of our platform. So similar to how like Disney will, buy like the whole thing with Marvel or whatever. And Sony is making an argument that, hey, this isn't fair. What Sony is actually doing, though, is false. They buy companies all the time. They buy exclusive rights all the time. You can only play Spider-Man on PlayStation. Spider-Man, I think worldwide is more known and bigger than Call of Duty. But they don't have the hypocrisy is unreal. Microsoft also has extended an offer to Sony, Steam, which is a PC platform, and Nintendo to offer Call of Duty on their platforms for the next 10 years. So the PlayStation 5, just so you know, the lifespan of that system will not be 10 years from now. These systems typically they're only around for about 5 years until they move on to the next iteration. So Microsoft is basically guaranteed this iteration, this generation of PlayStation and the next will be supported with a Call of Duty for the merger. The reason why Microsoft would do that is because they're not about increasing the number of their platform. They have a game service that's a service similar to Netflix where you pay a monthly subscription and you get all of their games for free. So it would still be available on PlayStation, but they want you to migrate eventually to Game Pass if you have an Xbox system, but they don't care where you play. And of course, if they cut off PlayStation from Call of Duty, they're going to lose half of their sales because there's so many great games on PlayStation. People who love PlayStation aren't just going to abandon PlayStation to go to Microsoft for Call of Duty. So it would be foolish for Microsoft to say, oh, we're only keeping this for ourselves. Not to mention the company Activision themselves, they've had internal problems. They have problems with sexual harassment. They've had some cultural problems over there or whatever, allegedly. And Microsoft's culture and the way they do things would definitely be a benefit to fix that. Also, anyone who's a subscriber to Game Pass, which myself is, this is a huge advantage for people like us. I pay a monthly subscription fee. Call of Duty comes out. I don't have to spend $70 to buy it. I get it for free. So it's a big deal. It's great for gamers. It's great for the industry. And last point I'll make, even with the acquisition of Microsoft being who they are and Activision being such of a big company, it would still financially put Microsoft only in third place, still behind Sony as far as actual revenue and market share of the video game industry. So the idea that Sony is arguing that it would be a monopoly, Microsoft would still be in third place behind Sony at number one. So there's a lot of stuff going on here that's just not, it's not accurate.
When you say third place, you're just talking about the gaming division, right?
The gaming
not the
market,
overall
yeah.
company.
No, the overall company, Microsoft obviously is bigger than Sony. They're major tech company, as we all know, but those are separate entities. The budget is different. Everything is it's separate. So you think, oh yeah, you think Microsoft money or whatever, but their main money is Windows and all of that stuff. It's not Xbox. In fact, Xbox was very secondary up until recently, where they've decided that they were going to pick up some companies and start really pushing some of their content. And the gaming model that they have now is great. The Game Pass is such of a wonderful thing for the industry.
And this Game Pass, this is only for Xbox users, right? It's not available to anyone else.
It's for Xbox and PC.
PC as well, that's right.
Yeah. So and they want to offer it to other. I think eventually they're going to offer it to Nintendo. I think Nintendo will have some form of Game Pass. I believe
that would be big.
And yeah, it would be huge. Yeah. Yeah, probably not on the Switch, but probably Nintendo's next system, because the Switch, honestly, it doesn't have the computing power to be able to run some of the games unless you do it through a streaming service, like through a cloud service, which that's an entirely different conversation. But Bernie Sanders, he's my man, but he's got it wrong. A lot of the Democrats got it wrong. They need to understand the industry more. FTC is going to probably lose this in court, and it's going to be an embarrassing loss because even their claim is factually inaccurate, or their claims.
Well, it sounds like they're looking at it from the broader aspect, the company as a whole, because that's the only way this makes sense, right?
But even if you do it from that standpoint, you got to look at the numbers. If you crunch the numbers, Sony is still number one in the gaming division.
In the gaming, but if you look at Sony as a whole company and you look at Microsoft as a whole company, then that picture changes. And I would assume that maybe that's the aspect that they're looking at.
Well, they don't stop Sony from doing video game acquisitions because they own that big part of the market. It's not like the gaming industry is a small market. It's an enormous market. Yeah. It's huge. Video game industry is one of the strongest forms of entertainment in the entire world. So the idea that Sony is number one at that, and somehow that's just some niche thing, that's not the case anymore. They are number one in one of the biggest industries to ever exist on this planet. So yeah, they're not as big as Microsoft's tech, but Sony also makes televisions. They also make other movies,
music.
Phones. Like they do a lot. They got their hands on a lot of things. So it's not like Sony is this poor little company that can't compete with big old Microsoft. Like that's not it. And Nintendo and Steam signed a 10-year agreement with Microsoft. So other big video game industries feel like this is a benefit. So they want Call of Duty for 10 years. Also, Nintendo does not have Call of Duty on their system. But once Microsoft acquires Activision, and this is a done deal, they will now have access to Call of Duty. So the idea that Microsoft would be hoarding this is incorrect, where in actuality, they would be expanding the user base. So interesting story. It's going to be ongoing because it's going to be a court hearing. The one thing that I've read is that the FTC did not file an injunction. So basically what it seems like is that they're not really trying to stop the deal. They just want certain concessions for Microsoft to make. So they're giving them that pushback. So maybe that could be it if Microsoft agrees to certain terms, which I think Sony wants a lifetime guarantee that it will be on their platform. And that's something Microsoft not only shouldn't do, but it's never been done before. And it's not a realistic thing to ask for. But there's going to be some concessions, I would imagine.
Is there a trial date or anything like that?
I don't think so. I don't know. I do know that the deal is supposed to be done by like June of 2023. So I think they want to try to get that done, before then.
So there'll be more to come. Pretty interesting.
Yeah. It really is an interesting story, even if you're not into the gaming industry, because it talks a lot about their things we always talk about, right? Where you have these big companies merging, and most of the time we frown upon that. Nobody likes a monopoly. Nobody likes companies that aren't, like smaller companies not being able to compete.
Right.
But if you're number one in your industry, and another company is trying to compete with you, and you're purposefully trying to stop them from competing against you, that's a problem. If anything, that's concerning for consumers is the way Sony is going about it. Phil Spencer, and I'm not quoting him exactly, but he made the comment. Phil Spencer is the head of Xbox. He made a comment that Sony's way of competing basically is to minimize the competition as opposed to improving on their own platform.
I read that as well. That's interesting. I don't know. Well, I mean, it's only a few weeks left, and the holidays are in between that too. So I imagine this shit will be buttoned up here pretty quickly.
Do you know? I hope so. This is already dragged out. I've been following this story now for quite a while. So
I feel like it was like I remember us talking about this whole Activision merger like a long time ago.
It's been quite a few months. Yeah,
months. I kind of felt like it was like a year or something already, but
I don't think it's been quite a year, but it's definitely been a few months in the making.
Just from the investment point of view, is Activision going away?
No, Activision will be pretty much at the same capacity that they are now.
Just under
obviously they're going to
umbrella.
They're going to be just another game division of Microsoft. Some games that they make will obviously be exclusive on Microsoft platforms and services, but not the major one, the big one that everyone's talking about, and that's Call of Duty.
It'll be interesting to see how this impacts the shares.
It already impacts their markets. Every time that there's a negative thing coming out, Microsoft and Activision stocks decline. So it does affect the value of that 69 billion. Can be adversely affected by the time this is said and done if the deal doesn't go through, or even if the deal goes through. It's definitely
sounds like it's going to go through. I wonder if then will it be a quick boost. Might get in now with all the negative coverage, and then take advantage of that boost after it goes through.
Yeah. Well, what's going to happen now though is now Microsoft is going to also have to deal with other countries, because now the United States sets a precedent. So now other countries are going to have to determine whether they feel like this is going to be an unfair competition wise or whatever.
Interesting.
But that's my take on it. I know some people have a different take, and they don't think Microsoft should be allowed to do this. But I would argue the hypocrisy, considering the things that Sony has done over the years, it's kind of alarming that people would feel that way. But it's just like politics. It's about fanboyism.
So what do you think, Patricia?
Watch her come out with some incredible gaming analysis that we weren't expecting.
No, I was just thinking about my days when I was
Candy
playing
Crush.
Harry Potter. I am in level like 3,500 on Candy Crush. This is the never-ending game.
I think Candy Crush is I think Microsoft would own that if they get Activision. I'm not too sure. Let me look, because I don't give a crap about Candy Crush.
Candy Crush is the shit.
I've never played it.
You've never played Candy Crush?
Never.
Oh no. Okay, I guess not. No, it is.
I had to take it off my phone because it was consuming too much of my time.
I tend to not do what everybody's doing.
What do? You don't like to read.
Yes.
You don't like to watch movies.
I do like to watch movies. I love movies.
What do you watch? What do you like to do for fun?
By the way, Activision,
go on first blind date.
Hold on. Activision does own Candy Crush. So that Microsoft essentially would own them too. And that's part of the lure, is to get them in the gaming mobile market as well. But back to this point, Damien.
There we go.
We were going to save this for the end of the podcast, but I definitely want to bring this up now. Daym.
Yes.
So we always talk about, I'm passionate about certain things. Patricia's definitely passionate about certain things. The only thing I know Damien to be passionate about is music. And I question some of that shit sometimes too, because his music is a little weird. And traveling. He likes to travel. He likes to, eat. He's politically smart. He's into like that stuff.
He likes to eat.
As far as like, no, I don't mean like,
foodie.
He's a foodie, right. So am I. So it's a little, yeah. So Daym, what are your passionate things? Like, I mean, like every time, like, we bring
to us how your life
movies,
is not boring.
like you're almost like, no, I don't read. No, I don't watch movies. No, I not. Like, well, you do watch movies, but you really don't. So
watch this documentary. No, it's gonna fuck up with my energy. Like, what do you do?
Right.
Besides, he likes to take showers. I know he's passionate about the shower. I know that.
Yes.
So I just don't like the type of documentaries that you like, or the type of movies that you like.
What kind of?
I love watching documentaries.
Like what?
I love watching movies.
Like what? Every time we bring it up, you're like, "Nah, don't fuck with that." So like what?
It just has to be something interesting. It really doesn't even matter.
What's your favorite movie?
Top Gun. Since I was like 8 years old.
I've never asked that question. How is that your favorite movie?
I don't even. I used to have, when I was a kid, I used to have.
He wants to be Tom Cruise.
I used to have an infatuation with flying. I used to dream that I could fly. And I don't know, whatever, when I first saw this movie, and it captured me, and I was stuck on it. It has nothing to do with Tom Cruise.
So do you like Peter Pan?
No, because that's fiction.
Superman?
No, I don't watch. I've never even read a comic book. Don't get into Marvel or DC or any of that shit. Don't really know much about it.
Black Panther?
Oh yeah, I was there for that one.
But you don't like comics?
No, but I had to see that movie.
Because you were going to take your light.
My family is heavily into
Marvel,
so I get caught up in it every now and then. What'd you say, Patricia?
If you didn't go see Black Panther, they were going to take your light skin card away.
My light skin card away. Yeah, potentially I could have lost my black card.
He still hasn't said what he does for fun. He's told us what he doesn't like.
I do all the same things you guys do. I just do different variations of it.
I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you this: other than going out with like your wife and your family, like when you're home, right? So what do you do to unwind on a normal day? Like when you kick back, you
bubble bath.
You just throw on music. Yeah, other than the bath, because we know that. For those who don't know, if you're just tuning into the podcast for the first time, I've said this before, but for some reason, a lot of times when Patricia and I talk to Damien in our little group chat, he's in the fucking shower.
And like wasting water away.
A lot. Like, it is a lot. Like, we've had whole conversations with this fucking dude, and I'm like, are you in the fucking shower?
Okay, wait, not whole conversations, because someone can have a whole conversation in 5 minutes. I'm talking about back and forth conversation for a good 40, 50 hour.
Right. Yeah. And then like sometimes like just random, like it'll be like early in the day. I'm like, hey Dame, what's up? And the fucking shower's going. He's like, oh, what's up, G? I'm like, are you in the shower? Yeah, all right, I'll talk to you later. And he keeps going. And then later on that evening, I'll be like, yo, Dame, what's up? So other than the fucking shower, which we know that like you are like shower god. What do you do to unwind?
I watch TV. I watch movies. I watch a lot of podcasts on YouTube. We're talking like at home, right? Like just chilling and
yeah.
Sometimes we play board.
So
what are you passionate about? We know that Julian loves horror and morbidity and all that weird stuff.
My life's passion has been music and basketball.
Okay.
But how many games do you actually watch?
I don't watch as much as I used to. It's a time thing, but I'm watching 2 to 3 games a week.
You know what I get from Dame? I get that he's a guy who he gets home. I'm just imagining this, right? And you're with your wife and your fam, and you're busy and you're back and forth. And by the time you sit down, and after you've had dinner and after you've had your 5 showers, by the time you sit down, everything else is so secondary that you're not really focused on it. It's just kind of there in the background.
That's somewhat accurate. After finishing my work day, I come home and I tend to have some work on the computer that I still have to do. And because I'm trying to watch something on TV and relax at the same time while I'm working on my computer, my ADD kicks in. And so what should be maybe 30 to 60 minutes worth of work might turn into 3 hours worth of work. And that's pretty much my night. And then, then we have the podcast, and I'm looking for topics and reading about topics. And
so that's why when Patricia and I have these discussions with you, you always seem to be halfway involved in any of like entertainment stuff that we talk about, because you're just like, yeah, I don't care.
Not in this world.
Well, just what you guys like, I just don't like.
That's absurd.
I know.
That's really what it comes down to. So to you guys,
must like what I like.
It seems like I don't enjoy these things, but I love movies. And
Little Mermaid? I still don't know what movies you love. Yeah, we've covered so many movies, and you're like,
this is the contradiction. I talked to Damien, and I said, what movies do you like? A documentary. It's like, well, I like crime stuff, drama stuff, or whatever. But then when I bring up some, he's like, no, that's too heavy. So it's like, what do you like to watch? Like crime shows about somebody doing petty theft? Like
Lifetime. You mentioned Lifetime.
Yeah, like, oh, they caught this pickpocket at the mall. Ooh, I'm so engaged. I'm like, yo, you should see that Jeffrey Dahmer. No,
I'm not watching that shit.
What? It was so good.
I'm glad.
Why don't you want to watch it?
I don't want to watch it.
You both sound like kids. Vibe. You're like, why don't you want to watch it? And he's like, I don't want to watch it.
I don't want to watch it. I mean, I'm familiar with the story. I don't care.
It was so good though.
I don't want to watch it. I've heard nothing but good things about it. I don't want to watch it.
Well, I'm talking more about documentaries than the Netflix show. Yeah. I can understand why somebody would want to watch that.
You have to take into consideration my attention deficit disorder. And so documentaries aren't often that entertaining. And so I have to really be interested in whatever the topic is for me to make it through.
You know what documentary? And I don't know, Julian, I'm sure you've watched it. I'm sure you've probably watched the backstory of it, dissected, watched it in real time, looked up the history. Version. You probably have a binder with news clips. Have you seen the documentary Don't Fuck with Kittens?
I watched that
one. Don't fuck with cats. Don't fuck with cats. Yes, I did.
Cats.
Yes, I have. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could not stop watching that shit. I was losing sleep. I was like watching it with one eye because I didn't want to fall asleep, and then I had to rewind the next day. That was crazy. That was one crazy documentary. What was it called? Don't Fuck with Cats?
Yeah.
Don't Fuck with Cats. Yeah. Yeah. It was a really crazy documentary. Loved it. Hated it, but loved it.
Yeah. I hated it but loved it. So the ending blew me off.
I watched that one. I watched the Tinder one, which I think was made by the same people.
I started the Tinder one, and then I just lost. No, wait. I watched the Tinder Swindler. That's what it's called. The other one, the Anna something. That everybody was talking about her. I started watching that, and then I just couldn't take her voice, and I just stopped watching it.
Well, anyway, let's move on.
So I do enjoy documentaries, certain ones. I do enjoy movies, certain ones. I have to be engaged. A movie has to keep my mind thinking. I can't just watch a movie where there's just like action and like brainless shit going on. My mind has to be trying to solve a problem. Who did what, when, where, and why. If that's in the movie, I'm on it.
My older sister has this weird thing where we have a weird dynamic in our relationship, but she's difficult to get to watch films and get engaged with things. She gets bored almost immediately.
I don't want to watch it.
Even if the slightest thing in the beginning of a film, it could be the first 5 minutes, turns her off, she's done. Like it's just a weird thing. And I attribute a lot of that because I do think she has some form of ADD. And I think a lot of people who have that tend to not be engaged, not because the content isn't engaging, but because of whatever disorder, or I'm not even comfortable calling it a disorder, but just, you know, or condition or whatever, but just.
Well, I mean, it is called
disorder,
ADHD,
attention deficit, right? But I'm still
attention human
uncomfortable
deficit.
with the idea of it being a disorder.
Yeah,
but whatever. That's a different conversation. But I do think because of that condition, I think that's the reason why. So when you say you have to be engaged, other people who focus on it are engaged, where you're just kind of floating away and you're just not.
I need more stimulus, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Brittney Griner is home. How do you guys feel about that? I'm sure both of you are happy. How do you guys feel about singing?
I'm glad she's home. She should have never been there for like, what, 10 months?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Something like that. 10, 11 months, somewhere around there. What about, how do you guys, I'm so confused. I don't know if confused is the right word. Maybe bothered. Thrown off by all of the feedback and then like the negative shit people have to say about the trade and her being home. I don't understand.
Look, I feel like these are the people that are saying stuff like this, negative, and that she hates America and mad and saying that she should have stayed there and done the 10 years are the same people that supported January 6th or were in that, you know, in that mess. I think it's very hypocritical. I cannot even think of someone as an American saying, yes, she should stay there for 10 years for a little bit of weed or whatever is it that she had. And then these are the same people that turn around and are like, oh no, you know, January 6th was like the most American thing that could have, you know, those people have done. It doesn't make sense.
There were 2 news reporters who said she should have turned down the deal because she should have known she wasn't the equivalent of trade, and she should have turned down the deal until it included Paul and been willing to serve however many years.
Why wasn't she?
The problem with this is that people are politicizing something that they shouldn't. At the end of the day, she was unfairly put in prison. What were they going to put in there for 9 years or something like that? 9 years. So we knew that was unfair. We knew that was a move by Russia to be able to politicize this. But here in America, anyone who's looking at this and saying, well, the swap wasn't even or whatever, like, come on, this is an innocent person who's about to lose their 10 years of their life, you know, for doing something that we take for granted every day.
Something that's legal in this country.
Right.
Well, listen.
Where this person that they're swapping for is not going to be in the United States. Who knows what's going to happen to him over there? Who gives a shit? You know, he doesn't have to serve our American justice. Just get him out of here or whatever. I don't have a problem with it. I'm glad she's free, and hopefully there is a lesson to be learned there. If you're in another country, you got to make sure you know what you're doing. She shouldn't have been prosecuted and treated the way she was, but you don't know what to expect when you're dealing with other places and their laws and everything. Yeah.
You know what's something scary for me? When, you know, this first happened and, you know, I was online reading the comments of, you know, people's opinions, and it was usually, you know, like the white conservative or the white religious that was like so happy with this type of punishment. If they could, they would be doing this here, you know, and to call her non-American just because of the whole, you know, national anthem situation. And then again, you think it's very American to storm, you know, in Washington. In Washington, it's just to show you how warped these people are. You know, the only reason why they thought that she deserved this was because she was Black and a lesbian.
Contrary to what a lot of people on the right believe, it is absolutely American to criticize America. That's what part of being American is to be able to have the freedom to say whatever you think and believe, right? If you believe in the First Amendment, if you believe in that, which that's why it's the First Amendment. So anybody who's protesting America and they don't want to stand for certain things, to call them un-American because they're exercising their American right, it's kind of absurd to even think in those terms. But that's what they do.
But usually it's not about Americans exercising their right. It's when it's minorities doing it, because they don't get that bothered when it's John Smith and he doesn't want to stand up.
Or January 6th, or Donald Trump talking about the Constitution.
Right. Exactly. So that's the only reason. The only reason why people were so upset is it was because they brought her back and she is a minority.
She's a woman of color who they feel doesn't represent the ideals of their America, right? And that's what that's about, for sure.
I can't even get over the fact that people thought she should deny the request as if she was a part of it. She wasn't a part of this decision. Biden wasn't calling her in the cell. Hey, Britt,
right, what is she gonna do? What is she gonna do when they say, "Okay, you're free. No thanks.
Yeah.
No thank you."
What is it that shocks you though?
The ignorance. Like, do people
how is it so shocking you?
I don't know, because I don't know.
How many times has a Black person been killed by a cop without a weapon? And these people are always saying, you should comply, you should comply, you should comply. But then you see a white person with a weapon, and the cops are, lenient, and they're like, oh yeah, like the cop was, very good, and da 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 da. But so how are you surprised still, or shocked, or like this is so expected?
It's a double standard, and sometimes it still is shocking. I think for a lot of, I can't speak for Damien, but I know in general, people of color, we tend to think that we're walking on even, equal ground, and we're not.
Yeah.
No. I'm happy she's back. I'm happy that this was a big story, and I hope that people that travel, abroad really, look into where they're going and what's legal and what's not legal. Did you guys hear about Indonesia now? Like, sex before marriage is punishable by the law, even if you are a foreigner traveling
outside of the country. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you enforce that though?
Yeah. Well, that's just the thing. It's just like it's just like pulling people over for air fresheners or whatever it is. It's not so much enforcing it; it's the excuse to be able to jail people for whatever reason.
I know here in Turkey, when we travel and when we go to hotels, you have to present your passport in order to check in. It doesn't matter, even when we travel, even our kids have to have their passport, or their Turkish citizen, their Turkish citizen ID. So maybe they'll do something like that over there. Because I know that in the US, you can just get like an ID, your regular ID, and go to a hotel. But over here, it has to be done with, a passport.
But they still have. How do they know that you're having sex?
They don't. And that's just the point. That's just the point. The thing is, I don't know what the tourism looks like in Indonesia, but they kind of fuck themselves. Yeah. Literally fuck themselves. No sex, but they fuck themselves. I don't even understand like the mentality behind that. Like, what is that? Is that like some sort of like, religious Christian values or whatever,
Well, I know Indonesia, it's predominantly Muslim. It's Islam.
Muslim. It's Islam. So what is this? Some extreme religious like ideology, or is this more a secular kind of?
It's not secular. I think this is just them being them, and then using religion as an excuse.
So what is the punishment? Do we know what the punishment is?
Jail. I know it's jail time.
Jail.
So like let's say Joe walks into Indonesia from America or Australia or whatever, and he goes with his girlfriend, that's like an immediate arrest.
Well,
I don't know how they would enforce it.
It's premarital sex is the crime.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe,
so if they
I don't
walk
know, maybe
in,
people in Indonesia are doing it at the beach all the time. I have no idea, because if you're in a hotel, how would you know? You know, I don't know. I have friends that are in Indonesia right now, traveling as a group, like a group. Maybe I should ask them, what are you guys doing over there? Are you guys getting by?
Put a pillow over her head or something.
It's a scary idea that even in that situation, let's say you're in that situation and you're not having premarital sex, but someone accuses you of it. You have to go through a court process for that? Like there has to be some sort of like detainment, or like that's just going to be devastating and cruel. Like I don't even understand how, even for population control, if that's what the reason why they were doing it,
I
right?
would probably imagine.
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I'm not super read up on it, but the only rationale I could come up with is there's probably an increasing number of single parents or, children out of wedlock, and maybe they're trying to curb the single parent population or something like that.
I think this would be more to target the LGBTQ.
Why?
I think so.
They're definitely a target. They're always going to be a target, but that I think just the idea of sex to them is probably, they just want to control it. I mean, they're not the first society to ever want to do that, but in the modern day, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, 2022 at the end. We're at the end of 2022.
Are you saying they're not able to get married there, and so that would eliminate them from having sex altogether?
Well, they definitely are not allowed to get married there.
Okay.
So I think that this is
that's
just
like a double whammy there. Yeah.
That's
the whole thing
take,
is it's interesting and it's crazy, and then you could also start arguing what defines sex. Right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, really, is a hand job sex? You know what I'm saying? Like, is kissing sex? Could holding hands be something where maybe it's not illegal for jail time, but maybe you can get a ticket for that?
I would think.
You know what I'm saying?
I have a question, and I asked this question to a group of friends. Daym, why are you looking nervous?
I get nervous when you.
I have a question for you guys. What do you consider a virgin? Do you consider that someone is a virgin if they've only have had sex, or do you consider someone that hasn't had intercourse but has done oral sex a virgin?
Yeah, I think the standard answer is intercourse would change the title.
I'd say intercourse or oral.
You think oral?
I think anything where there's an exchange of some sort of penetration, I would consider that sex.
So if the person has had oral sex, they no longer are a virgin, according to you, Julian. But according to you, Damien, if that person hasn't had intercourse but has had oral sex, you still consider them a virgin.
Yes.
But isn't the definition of virgin like innocence and all of that?
I don't know what the actual definition is.
I think it varies from person to person, but in my brain and my mind, I feel like you could suck dick all day. Excuse me, just being gross or whatever, saying it vulgar, but and say you're not a virgin, but you know what I'm saying? Like, listen, you kind of have sexual experience at that point.
It was a thing.
And that's what I'm saying. If you are the girl in high school that's sucking up in the bathroom, different guys, how are you still considered a virgin?
Well, because you could still be a virgin, but you could also be something else as well. There was a thing for a while.
So you think fathers who find out that their little girls are are blowing the football team in the bathroom. It's like, oh, that's daddy's little girl. You go, girl. She's still a virgin. Not. She kept her honor.
Definitely
not. Okay.
What if there's penetration but not with a penis? Damien.
How about them digits?
I would still,
because that comes first usually.
I would still say
no pun intended.
The digits come first. Yeah, I would still say she's a virgin. Because it could.
He's such a devil's advocate. He cannot
that's exactly Damien right there. He can't bring himself to just say no. They're doing it. Like everything politically, everything. He's just
I'm not being politically correct. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I think
you have a very specific thought process. It's interesting. I'm not criticizing it. It's just so interesting. You can't bring yourself to say they're not a virgin anymore because
But that's just not
the technicalities just won't allow you to do it.
I'm gonna tell you, technicalities. That's me. I'm very analytical and technical for sure. I remember for a period in time, and I don't know, it may still be going on, but where girls would be willing to have anal to prevent from losing virginity.
Yeah, they lost their virginity. I mean,
they lost more than that.
Yeah.
They lost their ability to.
That was the thought process. I think the whole concept of virginity anyway is kind of crazy. I think it's more a religious thing than anything. I think it's all about purity and all this
control. It's about men controlling women.
Yes, I would agree.
That's what it's always been about. Absolutely. Yeah. So here's my next question. How about if just the tip barely goes in?
No, we're not doing this, man. Come on.
All right.
How about she gets a box?
Well, being we've gone so off the rails.
I was just gonna say, I just want to point out that this started with Brittney Griner. How did we get here?
Patricia.
We might need to change the name of this podcast.
What?
We might need to change the name of the podcast.
To what? Mess Express.
I think the three of us, we all have various degrees of ADD, and the combination of the three of us together is wild. Bro.
Daym, we're having a conversation.
Off on
the problem with you is you want to be too structured.
I do.
Daym wants segment
A,
B, C. This is what we do, though. Me and Patricia, we have A1, A2, A3, then we go to B, B1, B2, B3. But Daym just, every time one of us deviate, I can see Damien's face is like, oh, shit.
And he even wants us to wear uniforms.
Yeah, he wants uniforms. He wants the same backgrounds.
He wants name badge. Okay, let's get back to where we're going because we can just keep going all day.
Damien's the villain.
But back to Griner.
Oh yeah.
I want to make one other point. I hope she's not one of these individuals who says, "Hey, I'm going back to play for Russia."
Oh no! Are you serious?
I just hope she's not one of those people because there are people in this world that will look at the situation and just say it's not going to affect what I do moving forward. This should absolutely affect what she does moving forward.
I have a question though.
Is she may not? I too hope she doesn't go back to Russia, but she may not have a choice financially.
No.
She's not getting drafted.
No, but I'm going to tell you why. Because now she can write a book.
Okay.
Because now she has a different status now. Look, she lost a year of her life in nonsense that she could have been doing so many other things with herself. At this point now, I don't. And there isn't a country out there that wouldn't probably want her on their team.
Okay.
So I just hope that because she's done this for years in Russia, she's built some sort of camaraderie with some people over there. She has. So I just hope it's not one of those things where moving forward, I'm going to continue to play, because that's the team that I represent while I'm there. I just hope it's not one of those.
I don't follow women's basketball at all. I feel like it's such a shame that regular basketball players, like male basketball players, make so much money, and these women have to go off season and go play in other countries to make ends meet. Well, this should be more of a conversation about this case than what's going to Russia and breaking the law.
I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, that's a.
We could talk about that.
Go ahead, Julian.
Go ahead, Damien.
I was going to say that's becoming a conversation because so many of women have to play overseas in the off season to be able to sustain their level of life.
Wait a minute. But
fair.
Just wait. Let's be fair here. If we're gonna have the conversation, men do it as well. You got certain level of basketball players, NBA players who aren't either at the point in their careers where they're stars anymore or even starters.
Yeah, but that's different.
And they have to go overseas to make money. Dwight Howard is a perfect example of that.
But they're not doing both. They're just overseas. That's different. They're not in the NBA and then going overseas in the off season.
There have been players that have done that they play a portion overseas and they come back to America, or they go to the G League and they go back and forth. We have that all the time.
Yeah, they'll be overseas and then they'll get a contract to the NBA, but it's not. They're not doing both. That doesn't happen.
Okay. They're playing for a specific team overseas.
Right.
So, okay, but she was doing it to get more money.
Yeah,
because they don't get paid enough.
The comparison to the amount of money that the men make is not fair. They play more games. They have a bigger draw. They put more more asses in the seats. They have the TV contracts. What has been the conversation is the percentage of revenue. So there'll never be a woman that makes $40 million a year in the WNBA. It's just not going to happen. The WNBA doesn't even make that much money to pay that much money. But in the comparison has been the percentage of revenue. So in the NBA, the players make 53% of what the NBA generates. And in the WNBA, the women make 24, 25% of what.
Why is it not the same?
That's the conversation now.
Well, I don't think that they should make the same percentage. In this specific situation. I think in any other job scenario or whatever, it should be the same across the board. But in this particular thing, because you're comparing two different leagues with two different sort of models. So your people are just looking at the sport or the NBA portion of it. But the truth of the matter is the NBA players have negotiated those contracts and those percentages over the last 30 years. And because of the amount of merchandise that they sell and the TV deals and all of that stuff, they've gotten to that point with that percentage where the WNBA is way newer, way younger, and they haven't gotten there yet. Eventually, at some point, as their league continues to grow, as I understand it, that the league loses money in certain aspects, but as the league continues to grow, their percentages should go up. But I don't think it should just be like, okay, she plays basketball, he plays basketball, same percentage across the board. I don't think that would be right.
So when the NBA started, the players were not earning that much?
No.
That percentage?
No,
okay. All right.
When the NBA started, there were players who in the off season would be janitors and garbage men.
Okay. Then I can understand that.
Yeah.
But the WNBA
there were literally
for
teachers.
25 years, so it's not like
there were teachers, not even in off season, Damien. There were players that were teachers and janitors and truck drivers while they were actually playing. They were literally
like
clock
late
out
to the
of their
game
job and drive to the game. Yeah. So the league has grown, obviously, and and this stuff was happening while NBA games were televised. So it wasn't like this happened, years before the NBA was even televised. This was happening in the 80s, in the 70s. This was happening when we had superstars in the league. So I would just say now there are other revenue sources for a lot of athletes, given social media, given, shoe contracts and deals and stuff. So it ain't like they're playing in poverty. I mean, they're just not. So, but I do
I've
think
never
that the
even
percentage
seen
should
a
be
W.
increased.
I've
It
never
should be
even seen a
increased.
WNBA
But yeah,
game.
yeah, I'm not a huge WNBA fan. I've watched quite a few over the years, but um, it's just it's
Does
just
it run
different
at
for
the
me.
same time that the regular NBA games run?
It's after.
Yeah, not exactly the same. Yeah.
Oh, so they're not running at the same time.
They're not competing.
No, I know they're not competing, but what I'm saying are the seasons the same at the same time?
No, that's what he's saying. If they were at the same time, they would be competing for television time, for airtime. So
I see.
they go at
I don't know. Maybe
times.
people will be more pumped. Maybe when the season's over, everybody's basketballed out.
I hate to sound like this
It's a
because
different
I'm
crowd,
very
honestly, altogether.
yeah, I'm very it's not that the women basketball isn't as exciting or they're not as skilled. A lot of them. It's just the physicality is different, and I think that just it's a different game. It's different
Yeah.
to see it.
I think
And
I think they should lower the rim like a half a foot.
it's funny you say that because I think that would make a difference with the dominant big
I think
women
it'd make a
and
big difference
or
if
the
they
athletic
started. Yeah.
having the same sort of like dunk in your face and
Because I
physicality.
mean, if you think about it, it's kind of silly. Like in volleyball, you have men's and women's volleyball. The women's net is lower, and
Right.
in basketball, the women play with a smaller ball, but they still shoot at the same hoop. That's what
I think that's the point though. Universally speaking, a jump shot should be on a 10-foot rim. And that would alter a lot of their game.
that would change the shot for sure.
Right. And it would change the universal aspect of basketball. So if you have if you're out in the court and you're playing a pickup game and there's, a couple of girls playing, um, what we have an automatic advantage because we're playing on 10-foot rims and they're used to playing on 9-foot rims. Like it would change it being kind of a universal sort of playing field.
I've
So
played with some.
I see both points, but I don't know.
Yeah, that is a
I
good point.
understand why it
If they
hasn't
lowered the
changed.
rim, that would definitely change the shot, and that would cause an issue for a lot of players. But they just got to find some way to make it a little bit more entertaining because everybody loves a dunk, and there's maybe been 10 dunks in like the history of the WNBA.
There's been more
Really?
than that. There's been more than that, but it's not as common. It's obviously not even near. I mean, look, male NBA players, even the guys that are under 6 feet, even the players that are under 6 feet are a lot of them are able to just get up there and dunk. Now you got guys that are 6'5", 6'7", 6'8", 7 feet, 7'2", 7'3". They don't even have to barely jump to get there. You just don't see that as commonly in the WNBA. It's just not, it's just not something you see. So that is a big part of the game that's a big draw. And I think it does hurt them to some degree.
Yeah.
But then again, I've seen some of these players and they do some amazing things. I'm kind of blown away by some of the things that they do.
Man, I've played with some women that are like
basketball.
Yeah. One time, this is going back into high school, playing at a pickup court park, and there was a woman there who everyone knew. I didn't know her. She was from the area, but she plays professional basketball overseas. I had no clue who this woman was, but everybody else did, and they tried to set me up. So she was on the opposite team, and they told me to guard her, and I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care. Play against her. Man, this chick almost dunked on me. I would have never been able to go back to that park again. But
why? Because she was a girl?
Yes. Yeah. Hell yeah. It would have been the joke for sure. But luckily I stopped that from happening. But yeah, these women can ball.
You
and
fouled
a lot
her.
of them. Huh?
You fouled her.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Hard.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't foul her like any different than anybody who came up to attempt to dunk on me would have got the same foul. I just didn't go easy on her. because she was.
I just didn't. I just wanted to make sure you weren't implying that you swatted her shit. You filed her.
No, yeah.
Well, welcome back, Brittney. It's Brittney,
welcome back.
Bitch.
Yeah,
it's Brittney, bitch. Yo, and if she ever does return to the WNBA, which I hope she does, that should be her introduction. It's Brittney, bitch.
I think she'll come back. I think the league has been very supportive.
Her
and
teammates for sure. Her team's been riding for her every day. They tweet day 100 and something, and BG still ain't home.
Yeah,
every day.
And you know, to Patricia's point, maybe this may force the league to look at it differently. Maybe they might have to start paying these players more money. Not quite the same percentage as the NBA, but definitely up the percentage, so that way we don't see these people doing this sort of thing. I know international play is not frowned upon; it's encouraged because they want to make the NBA as global as possible, and it does bring countries and people together. But if you have to do it out of necessity, right? If you have to do it out of necessity, then that's a little bit different. So maybe this will be a start to maybe re-examining that, the pay in her situation.
I do think it's also better for the league if they don't have to go overseas and play, because their body has opportunity to recover. And they may be able to play better and provide a better product to the fans.
And she's gonna put her being there is gonna put asses in those seats.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's
probably they average like 6,000 in sales. Like the average women's game sells like 6,000 tickets. That arena will probably be sold out.
So I definitely want to see her return, and I definitely want to see that put more of a positive light on the WNBA. So
I mean, definitely. I would watch a game just because of her. I would have never thought of watching a WNBA game, but I'll pay attention to it.
Loving it.
And I'll pay attention to it. Yeah, and I'll pay attention just because I want to see if she's coming back. And if she's coming back when she plays, I want to be able to watch that. I wonder the stories that she could tell from being over there.
I'm a huge boxing fan, and I know that for years there are people who don't care about boxing, don't watch it. But one of the things that they do is when they highlight a boxer's life, and you get to know that person more on a personal level. Even if you don't watch boxing, if you identify with that person, you tend to want to watch and root for them. And it goes the same with any other sport. In team sports is a little bit different because there's so many aspects to the team. But once people start passionately identifying with certain players or certain cities or certain whatever, that's the segue for people to become avid sports fans.
Yeah.
Probably won't be able to keep their jersey on the racks.
Right. And most people who don't have a sports background get into sports because of that reason. Yeah. They end up identifying solely with a player or whatever it is.
Well, she went through a rough 10 years, a rough 10 months, but hopefully it's the catalyst to give the sport a boost that it needs and decrease the need for these women to have to play basketball year round.
And hopefully they treated her somewhat decently, and she doesn't come back with too much trauma.
I just read she literally just because she had long dreads, and it's really cold there right now, and so she would have to frequently wash her hair, and then her hair would take longer to dry, and it's so cold she was frequently getting the chills. So for her health, she cut her hair, anticipating she was going to be there for a while.
That must have been traumatic alone. Yeah. I know it sounds maybe silly to some people, but that must have been traumatic for her.
No, because when you have to literally shave off or cut off a part of your identity, and I don't mean like long hair females, just if you intentionally grew your hair.
Well, I think when you have locks, it's a little different though, because
you have to when you have to do that to survive more comfortably, because you're going to be in a situation for a long time, that could be traumatizing for sure.
Yeah, that will fuck with your mental health.
Man, so the Georgia Senate race runoff is done.
Thank God.
And the winner is Reverend Raphael Warnock. 51% of the votes to 48% of the votes for Herchel Walker.
I have to say, that's
close.
That's what I was just going to say.
100,000 votes.
Shame on you, Georgia, for making it that close. Shame on you.
It's really embarrassing. And if this was in the reverse situation, I would be saying the same. If the Democrats propped up Herchel Walker, I would be saying the same exact fucking thing. This is embarrassing. Like, this man was 3% of a state's vote away from being a senator in the U.S. fucking A. This is insane. And the worst part about it is that he didn't even know he was running for Senate. He thought there was just a recent interview with, I think it was with Politico, where he's saying that he's going to get this seat in the House, and with him winning the seat in the House, it's going to give the Republicans the majority, which just everything he was saying was wrong. The Republicans already had the majority in the House. He's running for Senate, first of all, and the Democrats already had the majority in the Senate. Like, it wasn't impacting anything. He just literally had no clue what the fuck he was talking about. And this man was almost a senator. This is embarrassing.
I mean, we had Trump for president. So again, how are you like so
At least
shocked?
he knew he was, I was going to say at least he knew he was the president, but he didn't even.
He still thinks he's the president.
I remember when the hurricane hit the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, and Trump was saying he talked to the president of the Virgin Islands. Oh, yeah? So, yeah.
When he said that an island is surrounded by water.
It's very wet. It's very wet water, too.
You know,
this
reminds me of the other night I was watching a movie called Fright Night, and I realized that a werewolf could kill a vampire. So yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, this is really disappointing. Like, it's not even about the party for me. Like, I don't care, but like, I just feel like you can't call yourself an American if this is the type of shit you support, because your first priority is not America. Your first priority is your party, your political party. That's all you give a fuck about. It's not America, because if you gave a fuck about America, you would have enough sense to know that this guy is not it.
But even if you cared about your party, do you want that guy representing your party?
No.
So, like, it's not even that.
But yeah, but it's party first. It doesn't matter who the representative is. They have to vote party first.
Right. So, but why would somebody like that be selected in the first place? There are a lot of reasons, but yeah, we know why.
Token.
That's one reason for sure.
But at least get someone who can complete a sentence. At least get someone who understands.
They don't think we're capable of distinguishing dumb and not dumb. That's how.
Well, not we. They know that their people are capable. Right.
No, when I say, I'm talking about like the white people, the white racist people think that we're just dumb, and whatever just because they're dumb with Trump, they think that we're dumb enough that we're gonna go with whoever we see. Just because he's black, we're gonna give him our vote.
Yeah.
Well, it was close, so some did.
I know.
They only need a small percentage of the black population to either not vote for their for our candidate or to vote for theirs. Either way, if it's even a couple of percent, 2-3%, it's gonna sway an election.
Yeah,
that's the tactic.
And that's why they try so hard to keep us from voting, is because they know that that's really their only ways to win.
It's the same argument that Phil Spencer made about Sony, right? The best way to compete is to diminish the opposition as far as silencing them or putting them in a box.
Yeah, I just, you know what? That's I just don't respect that. Like, that's pussy to me. Like, I wouldn't want to beat up someone that I know is crippled. Like, when I win, I want to beat you at your best. Like, I don't want to tie your hands behind your back and then
you don't want an advantage, a handicap, right?
It's like, I don't respect that shit at all.
I think the thing with Herchel Walker is if you give somebody like that a bunch of talking points and you just send them out there to speak, there's going to be a segment of the population that immediately identifies with that, just because people are cynical about politics, right? So they look at Republicans, they look at Democrats, and they look at somebody like him and they think, oh, he's one of us. He's like us. He's not involved in that. And for some reason, we've become a society where instead of looking at scientists for scientific things, instead of looking at experts in any particular field, we like the outsider, the common man, so to speak. And I think that's attractive to some people, but it's dangerous when it comes to certain positions. You wouldn't select a doctor to take care of your health just because you like them. And it's the same thing in politics. Well, you shouldn't.
You shouldn't, but you'd be amazed.
Yeah,
I'm just disappointed in Georgia. I mean, this should have never been this close at all. Not by a long shot. And I would be interested.
For someone who lives in Florida, I'm quite proud of Georgia. So,
right, because we got it real fucked up here.
That's true.
Yeah, at least Georgia has some fucking sense. Go Georgia. At least some of y'all.
Look, they're going more and more blue year after year, and I have to be excited with the idea of that. I feel like because I considered moving to Georgia a few times now in the last few years, and I feel like a lot of Floridians moved to Georgia, and that's why we're seeing a shift in Florida going red, because Florida's been red pretty much solidly for a few years now. In Georgia, within that same amount of time, same time frame has become more blue. So I wonder what's going on there.
Interesting.
No, that's an interesting thought. I know a lot of people have left Florida and gone to Georgia.
I think that we've seen this now from the Republican Party several times now. I think as many people think that John McCain was this, pretty strong leader on the right and somewhat moderate on certain issues. That whole Sarah Palin thing, I think, kind of opened up the floodgates to a lot of the stuff that we've been seeing now. I'm not saying that he's totally to blame for it. You could argue and even go back to Ronald Reagan or George Bush or whatever, but I just think now the whole totally clueless politician is such of a thing now, and it's dangerous, and it's not going to stop. That's why he who should not be named is going to run again, and all of this just should stop. It should stop.
Listen,
I'm sorry. I feel like with Bush, a lot of people made fun of him for like his comments and calling him dumb or whatever. But I do think it was Sarah Palin that kind of just like launched the whole dumb campaign, and then comes along Trump and he seals the deal. I mean, like, I don't even think you can top Trump at all.
There's a constituency in ignorance.
Yeah.
That's a group that's a voting block that we have to account for. It really is.
It's true. I mean, really, it's reality. And it's the Republicans they're in a peculiar situation because especially with this whole thing that still is rumbling, his dinner guest that he had a couple of weeks ago, and his inability to still
and that he claims he's never heard of, not even his name.
Yeah, I mean, they all lie out of both sides of their fucking mouth. Marjorie Taylor Greene also said, portrayed herself to have never experienced this guy, and there's all kind of pictures. She was in fundraisers with him, and
the white supremacist.
Yeah.
Fuentes.
Yeah, and it's Fuentes, right? And she was up on some stage with him or whatever. Yeah. This is what they do.
Yeah. But people, they buy this shit. It's like, it's infuriating to me. I just can't comprehend this level of stupidity.
Because think about the psychological aspect to this, right? So on one hand, they asked Marjorie Taylor Greene, what do you think of this? And she immediately denounces it. This is wrong. This is whatever. She goes on her little rant in that. I think it was some podcast or video that she did. It was scripted. Knowing that she knows the guy, she's been on stage with him. Then you give her fans or her people pushback on that. And immediately it's like fake news but they all know. They've all seen the footage.
I hate the term fake news.
They all understand that it's true. And we all have to kind of sit here with a straight face and pretend that there's some sort of legitimacy in what she said. I'm sitting there in the last podcast and thinking, oh, yeah, well, at least, she understands how damaging this is. But she's part of the same team. And this is what they do over and over again. Some are more skilled at it than others. But the idea that she can come on there with a straight face, condemn this guy, pretend like she doesn't know him when she does.
That's how dumb they are. That's not only how dumb they are, but that's how dumb they think they are. Like, do you not know that in this day and age, they will pull up your picture real quick?
I don't know if it's a stupidity issue. I think it's just them being so disingenuous and them so understanding that not only does nobody care on their side, they don't care how much they lie, but they're all sitting there laughing at this shit. You got some right-winger who loves Marjorie Taylor Greene and sees the contradiction and he's loving it. He's not like, oh, look, they caught her in a lie. He's like, yeah, keep doing that shit.
So this goes back to when you say that all Republicans are soulless. Is that what you say? Moralless? What is it that you say?
They have no morals. They have no soul. And the majority of them are racist and sexist.
What do you think about that, Damien?
No, we don't need.
They prove it time. They prove it time and time again to me. And I know some people think that's an extreme thing, and maybe I'm saying this to be extreme, but just the evidence.
No, I think
there,
you're. Right? I think you're pretty much right.
Yeah, I mean, you got your one-offs, and you got people who genuinely don't feel that way, and I feel bad for those people. There are some Republican voters out there that really have this thought process of where they think the country should be. But my issue with those people is that they will still continue to vote for the red, knowing all the shit that the red represents. So if they represent racist and sexist ideology and they sign off on those bills and you vote for them, well, then you're part of that problem, thus making you the same. It's a hard
can't disagree with that. But yeah, I don't, we were talking earlier that having to consider the ignorant segment of the party. And I think maybe it's me. Maybe I don't understand how large of a segment it is, because this shit I can't comprehend how people can just go for this shit and eat it up. So they either are complicit or they just don't give a fuck. I don't know. And, we see these interviews with people in Georgia, and they were all glad Trump stayed away. He didn't get himself involved in the runoff. But each one of them still support Trump. So, they say the majority of Republicans don't support Trump anymore, and that's probably true, but he doesn't need the majority. As long as the more Republican candidates that run in 2024, the better it is for Trump. Because all he needs to do is hold on to his 32, 33%. And the more candidates there are, is just going to water down the other 67%. And he's going to end up with the majority in the primary.
And if he walks into 2024 with the nomination, the majority of those Republicans who
will vote
were not supporting him will vote for him.
And that is a shame.
And it's a shame.
And that is how I feel we're going to have Trump back in 2024.
No, I don't think he has a chance at winning. I think he has a chance of winning the nomination. I don't think he has a chance of winning the presidency.
We'll come back to this day.
I will reserve my opinion on that as we get closer, to the election, but because I don't want to prematurely state it. I think I have pretty good instincts to see. I've usually predicted presidencies pretty well. I predicted Trump would win. So I do think, the last time he won, and I predicted Biden would win this time, but I do feel like there's a good chance that he could win, but I'm less likely to say that this time around because we know what we got with him the last time.
Well, that, and I think this midterms kind of gave us a preview.
It gave us some sort of a preview of the candidates that he chose,
where the independents stand, because that's really is going to be the breaker. It's going to be the independent vote,
right? And young people came out much stronger in the midterms than we had anticipated. So, and they primarily vote on the left. So, hopefully, this will continue. The only thing is that could, where Patricia's saying that could put Donald Trump back in the White House, is depending on how people are perceiving Joe Biden, right? If the economy continues to, if inflation continues to grow, people are going to blame him. If gas prices, they're starting to come down a little bit. They're starting to come down a little bit, but if we have an uptick again, or some crash or whatever, or something crazy happens, that could put Trump back in the White House just like that. So I'll wait to see what the political landscape looks like then. But until then, I'm not sure.
I'm not confident if it were to be between Joe Biden and Trump. I'm not confident in Biden at all.
For me,
beat him already.
Yeah, for me, it's like I want Trump to run because I feel like he's the most beatable at this point. But if he wins the Republican primary, then it almost guarantees that Biden's going to have to run again, and I don't want that. So I don't know what the fuck we're going to do.
Yeah, I'm not confident Biden runs again.
I don't know, bro. I think
and there's Trump, by the way, there's a rumor or speculation going on that Bernie Sanders is going to run in 2024 as an independent. That would dramatically hurt Joe Biden if that happened.
Yeah, that would.
That would be a problem.
I think that would hurt
Joe
any
Biden.
Democrat. I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. So I support Bernie Sanders all the way, but
do you think he can win as an independent?
Yes.
The presidency.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Bernie Sanders, not against Trump, but I think Bernie Sanders against Biden and a DeSantis, or Biden and a Rubio, I think he can pull enough independents on both sides of that spectrum to actually make a difference.
I mean, of course, if it was between Biden, Bernie, and Trump, or Biden, Bernie, and any Republican, I would go with Bernie for sure.
In a way, I support Bernie all the way, but in a way, I hope that the only way I would want to see him run is if Joe Biden decides to not run. So if Joe Biden decides to not run and they open it up again for Democrats to primary or whatever, I would like to see Bernie run, but as an independent. But for him to go up against a Democrat and a Republican, and if that Republican is Trump, and that kind of, I don't know, that might hurt us. And in that scenario, I can see Trump winning.
Yeah, because it's going to split the Democratic vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think Bernie would be the best candidate of those guys, obviously.
Yeah, I love Bernie, but he will be 83 in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
How old is Biden right now?
I think he's the same age, maybe a year older.
He seems so out of it. He just seems so out of it.
The thought of an 80-year-old man being president is just like,
Yeah.
this shouldn't be allowed.
I think I was gonna say there should be a cap. There should be.
Yeah. Shouldn't be allowed.
Haven't you heard? 80 is the new 60, bro.
I'm glad for Georgia. What they did. We were talking about that.
Well,
thank you.
We knew this was gonna go. Whenever you're talking about Herchel Walker and some of these people, it's gonna go a little bit off the rails. But I do think that that's our political. That's the way the politics work now. You have your progressives, you have your conservatives, you have your independents, and then you have just your ignorant segment that should be accounted for.
And the ignorant segment part keeps growing and growing. It seems like it gets more popular. I don't know. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I can't say it's even totally right-leaning anymore. It's still right-leaning, but there's a lot of ignorant shit on the left now.
Yeah.
All this wokeism shit and the lines are blurred because I don't even know if they're left or right anymore. Some of the ignorance is just so they're all saying the same thing, and I feel like the Republicans cling on to it more. Some of the ideologies on that side, on just the crazy like thinking. But conspiracy theorists, they've always existed, but man, do they have a real voice in politics now.
I want to talk about crazies. Let's talk about former presidents wanting to terminate the U.S. Constitution. Does it get crazier than that?
I think giving him the benefit of the doubt, it could be that some of that statement was taken a little bit out of context. But I do feel like at the end, that's what he wants to do. I don't think he gives a shit about the Constitution. I don't think he cares about law. So when I say
he's
in that particular
crystal clear, he doesn't give a fuck about the Constitution.
So in any other situation, I would probably give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But he's just have a proven track record where he doesn't care.
Hard to do after January 6th. Hard to do.
It's not a surprise that this is the sort of thing that Donald Trump says, right? A lot of the shit that he says is just for shock value. A lot of the stuff that he does is for shock value. But you can't be a conservative. That's like, right? That's part of their platform, right? Is the Constitution, right? Who was that?
There's actually a part of the party that's called the Constitutionalists. There's judges who
some of them carry these little pocket constitutions that and like that's their thing, right?
It's actual club. Yes.
So the leader of your party, the guy you vote for, the guy you swear by, is basically talking about getting rid of the Constitution or whatever.
Yeah, and for those who, the ignorant parts of the party that we talk about who just take what's given to them without any understanding, that includes the Second Amendment.
Right.
That's not un-American. not wanting to stand during the anthem is un-American, but that is not un-American.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny how they just cherry pick what's patriotic and what isn't, right?
Maybe they don't know the Second Amendment. Maybe they think, we can get rid of our Constitution, but the Second Amendment is not part of the Constitution. It's just an amendment. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't even know what a fucking amendment
link it.
is. Right. They don't even know what an amendment is.
They often don't. But this whole thing with the flag too, and it's the same people that they'll fly a flag outside of their house that's faded and torn, or they'll towels with flags and swim trunks with flags. There's an actual code of how the flag is supposed to be represented, and they're the same people that continuously violate this code.
But right, it should not be.
They have like a G-string out of the American flag. The flag is up the ass.
Yeah, on the genital area of someone's,
that's American right there. This gonna sound crazy. I've taken down people's flags and folded it and left it at their door.
Why?
Because it had holes or it was faded. It just should not have been displayed. I've stopped at people's houses and have taken down their flags.
That's a good way to get shot.
Yeah, it's not a good idea at all.
See, but I don't feel so strongly about the flag that I would ever give a shit about that.
Yeah, I once upon a time I did.
I think the idea of the symbolic nature of the flag is less important than how we treat each other as human beings.
Yeah.
I think people would be willing to take a bullet to stop someone from burning a flag, but could give a shit, if people are getting evicted from their homes or starving in the street or getting shot in a war, losing their limbs.
That selective patriotism.
Yeah, the idea of even doing that for a flag just seems so absurd to me. Or, look at Kaepernick. Like,
I used to be in the military, bro.
Yeah, you used to be in the military, and it means something different for you. Yeah, for sure. But how about the person who never has been in the military? How about the person who doesn't do shit or know shit about anything and they feel that way? I can understand you. I can't understand some of the people out there. And even you in the military, I think if on one side of a street somebody's burning a flag and on the other side of the street someone's actually getting burned, I think you run to the person who's getting burned to help them.
No, without a doubt. So last week we were talking about the Respect Marriage Act, right? This is regarding same-sex marriages, interracial marriages in the year 2022. Republican Representative Glenn Thompson out of Pennsylvania attended his gay son's wedding.
No, specify, because he could be gay and still get married, with a woman. He attended his gay son's same-sex marriage.
Correct. And then voted no, opposing the bill.
So let me just play devil's advocate here. Maybe he loves and supports his son while still being principled on that issue.
Maybe he's soulless, like you say, Julian.
Yes. Soulless fucks.
How you're principled, I don't see how you're part-time. What are you, part-time principled? You like
so
how does his son feel about that?
So the son got married before it was voted or after?
Does it matter?
Well, to him, maybe, yes. Like, let me get my son in, but no, I don't want anybody else to benefit from it.
I don't know if it was before or after. All I know is the hypocrisy is
it's real. It's real.
But how does his son feel about that?
I mean, I'm sure he has said worse things to his son. I'm sure his son knows exactly how his father feels. I just want to see the pictures of the wedding, and I want him to see his dad. What was he doing at the wedding? Was he dancing?
What was he saying?
I saw a picture of, it looked like leaving the ceremony. He was all spiffed up. Yeah, nice.
Maybe, I'm sure he's on the DL as well.
You know, a lot of times they make excuses and they'll say, oh, there was something in the bill, something that didn't jive right, something that I don't agree with, or I don't feel like it's constitutional to force this upon the American people, whatever.
I'm sure.
There's always some asinine excuse that they come up with. But at the end of the day, you have two human beings that want to be together, and one of them is your son, and you attend a wedding and then vote to take that privilege and that right away from other individuals who are in this. Yeah. That is sick and hypocritical beyond comprehension.
I don't understand why people care. Why do you care? I don't get it. If you don't want to be in a same-sex marriage, then don't be. But why do you care so much that you would want to stop it from being legal? I don't get it. Like, what kind of passion is that? I don't understand it. Maybe they should try it before pockets.
Yeah, like, and why is it a moral issue for certain people? Like, where this is like destroying the fabric of society or whatever. Like, when you hear these people talk and speak, even the idea of gay marriage to a lot of these people is infringing on their rights to be homophobic. Like, you hear them, that's exactly what they're saying, is that they can't even be free anymore while they're pushing this shit agenda.
And I bet you
why do they care? I've never understood that. And when secretly most of them, or a lot of them, plenty of them, have proven to be in the closet themselves. So why even push some sort of narrative that's even against your own personal feelings on it? Like, yeah,
I'm sure that Pornhub search category, you know,
in the red states, is pretty high in gay and black women, from what I remember reading. So yeah, in the red states, but you know, they fetishize a lot of this shit too. But I don't know. I don't understand it. I've never understood it. Why do people give a shit about what others do in their bedroom? How you love someone else? Who cares? That's their business.
Maybe they're a little Indonesian.
People are infatuated with other people's lives. I used to say the same thing. I used to work with this woman who was like the walking National Enquirer. She knew every celebrity was married to this celebrity and their kid's name and what they did and what's like. She knew every personal thing about these fucking celebrities, and if something happened, like, her world would be upside down, and she would come into work and it would be all she wanted to talk about. And I would ask her, like, why do you give a fuck? It impacts your life in no way. And it's the same thing here. Like, why do you care who someone else loves or sleep with or marries? Because it doesn't impact your life in any way. Who cares? Live how you live. Let people live how they want to live. Fuck do you care?
I think people lose sight of the fact that if we're talking about celebrities, people lose sight of the fact that they have a job, and their job is to entertain people, but their lives should not be the entertainment. Now, some celebrities in this day and age have made it that's their celebrity. That's their talent. It's to expose their lives and their business out to the public. So before, the news tried to get the scoop on people's personal lives. Nowadays, a lot of the celebrities are putting that narrative out there.
Kardashians.
So we've become
Kardashians, right?
We've become more and more accustomed to just, we can't see any kind of human being having their own personal private lives without feeling like it's our business to comment about it or, you know, have an opinion on how people live.
I finally told her one day I don't give a flying fuck what they do. She never talked to me again.
So you're also not interested in entertainment and the life of people.
Don't give a fuck. They're people. I've never been like, you know,
category that you're not interested in. One of many.
One of many, sure. I don't care about people's lives who I don't know, probably will never meet, and don't impact me in any way.
It's all a way to kind of demonize groups of people and attack people, and it's a common theme, right? A lot of people who tend to have racist ideologies are also homophobic. A lot of people who tend to hate women absolutely despise the idea of anyone being gay or transgender or whatever it is, just being different. So yeah, it's a sad state of affairs in 2022. Like, to think that we're still having these conversations, like
the end of 2022, like
right. To think that we are approaching 2023 and this is still probably the most biggest overall topic in this country is just bigotry and hate for reasons that are out of the control of other human beings. It blows me away. Anyway, moving on, because we all just kind of just went like deer in the headlights.
It's depressing, man. This country. Anyway,
the
world.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. That is true.
I mean, because look at what we're talking about this in America, and you say America, but look at what's happening in Indonesia. They made it into a law. So
I think it's important to understand that these type of human beings exist on every continent on this planet.
Yes.
We just can't let these fuckers get in the government and get into positions of power, because there's an audience for it, and there's a voting bloc and a segment of the population that's just going to support it for their own personal reasons. It could be religion, it could just be that they're hateful assholes, it could be a lot of reasons, but it's what we deal with. So, Sinema. Damien, what we got?
She decided that she no longer wants to be a Democrat, and she has switched her political party to independent. Though she states she will still vote the same way, but is open or willing to support Republicans on some areas. Which is
she a closeted Republican? What? I don't get it. Is she a closeted Republican? Like,
I don't know.
There's been no change, and this isn't going to change anything. It's
this is literally a status quo. It's a ploy.
She votes. I think the numbers were like 93% Democrat or whatever. But some of the key things that she's voted against, and the things that she's blocked, including like minimum wage and increase and just a bunch of things. She not only does it, but she gloats about it. And I think she's a real problem for Democrats. I think so is Manchin, and I think it's not going to change anything. I do think that in the long run, eventually, I think she's going to be voted out. But in the meantime, the timing couldn't be more suspicious, especially now that Herchel Walker just lost and Warnock won, and now she makes this announcement immediately after. I think it's just political attention.
As a Republican in 24.
Yeah, and it's in a way like a low-key way to just shit on Democrats and do her thing. It's I felt the same way. It's a little different situation with the Tulsi Gabbard thing. Yeah. It's just like, you never really were on that side.
Well, I think she just wants to be more important than she is. Her and what's his name? Manchin. They got a lot of attention because, they were always, holding their vote and, not wanting to get on board with the rest of the Dems. And so it gave them power. It made their vote that much more important. And now with the majority, more than a majority in the Senate, it kind of decreased her power. So this really was her only move to maintain some sort of power.
They have a lot of power because they're voting. They're not voting with the team, so to speak, and that's appealing for a lot of people. We just talked about independence or whatever.
Yeah.
And some people like that. Just not so much for the policies, but just symbolically.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When I hear so many people talk that shit. Oh, do you have to vote in lockstep with your like no, you don't have to, but there are certain principles that your party represents that you probably should vote for.
Let's talk about something I am passionate about, and that's music.
Ooh.
Music. What are the recommendations?
Well, before we get into recommendations, I think did want to mention Celine Dion and what she's going through. She just been diagnosed with stiff muscle disease, which is exactly what it sounds like. She, I believe, a neurological disorder where her muscles stiffen up uncontrollably, where she can't control parts of her body randomly, and it forced her to have to cancel her upcoming European tour. And
wow.
Yeah, it's sad, as you know, it's sad for anybody to go through that, but you know, she's one of the great vocalists of our lifetime, and you know, wish her the best. It's incurable, but she's going through some treatments to hopefully try and control it.
I love Celine Dion. She has an amazing voice, but most importantly, she's such a beautiful person.
Yeah.
You know, in all her interviews, everything, she's just so humble and funny and relatable. She's just like the girl next door. Yeah. I feel sad for this. I didn't know about this. I feel so sad for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. And you know, human beings, we all have our things we go through. At some point of your life, health is always going to be a concern and an issue, and you gotta be grateful for health when you have it. And Celine Dion and people who are famous and have money, they're no different. They go through it, and unfortunately, she has a huge fan base, and I'm sure a lot of people looking forward to seeing her. I hope that she can find ways to alleviate this pain and the suffering, because that doesn't sound pleasant at all. That sounds pretty terrible.
Yeah. I mean, the way I imagine, you know, like imagine, you know, you get a cramp in your calf or your thigh or something, like it's can be bad.
Yeah.
Imagine, you know, just your whole leg or something. I don't know.
I mean, as someone like myself that struggles with rheumatoid arthritis, and it's debilitating. Like, I cannot even imagine. I cannot even think of me having to perform and having a flare where I can't even move from my bed. It's just horrible. I feel so bad.
It's terrible. Wishing her the best. And, you know, thankfully she probably has a lot of resources, and she'll probably be able to manage it better than the average person. So hopefully we'll see her back on tour one day.
So this week, my guy, A Boogie with the Hoodie, dropped his newest album, Me vs. Myself. And I gotta tell you, it's all right. It's cool. It's a bop. It's a vibe. I could play it, you know, just on a long ride or something like that. Probably not anything that I go back to, but it's a cool vibe. It doesn't hold up to my favorite album from him, but it was nice.
What was that? What you were listening to before we started the podcast?
Yes. Okay.
Well, I have no comment.
Thank you. That's big of you. But yeah, it wasn't. I was anticipating more, but it was cool. It was a little vibe. There was really not much to it, personally. And that's all I got for music, man.
Well, I got 2 documentary recommendations this week. They're old ones, but they are extremely relevant. So The first recommendation is Michael Moore, controversial Michael Moore. It's Bowling for Columbine. If you've never seen it, it's extremely relevant today with all the mass shootings and everything. That was 20-something years ago, and we still haven't fixed anything. It's still exactly the same, if not worse.
I just read something where one of the kids from Columbine said that after all of these years, the only thing that's changed is that we taught kids how to hide.
Yeah. So you would have thought, I remember when a documentary came out, how controversial it was and how upset a lot of people were because they felt like he was attacking the NRA and guns and all of this stuff. And of course he was, because there's a lot to attack there. Yeah. And nothing has changed. It's pretty much the same. So if you haven't seen a documentary, check it out. It's still relevant. It's still really important. And there's actually a lot of history. The one of the most historical parts of the film is actually a short little anime in there that talks about like the history of guns and Black people in America and everything. And it's a really great and informative documentary. And there is some, oddly enough, there's some entertainment value in there as well. But at the end of the day, it deals with, complete tragic situation and how we sort of blame other things and ignore the obvious problem within, our gun culture. So obvious issues within our gun culture. So check it out. Michael Moore, Bowling for Columbine.
I like his
next
approach.
document. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, I like the way he approaches things because it's just like very straight up and like matter of fact. It's like he comes at you with just simple facts, and that you just can't dodge. And he just
and he's got a sarcastic way of his presentation, so that's where the entertainment comes in, where he can sort of say something that kind of presents the absurdity of what's just been normalized. Right. So
I love it.
I think I'll watch it again. I don't remember I remember Columbine, but I don't remember the documentary that good.
I definitely watched that one, but I probably will watch it again too.
Yeah, Bowling for Columbine, excellent documentary, and probably considered his best. My second favorite Michael Moore documentary is actually the next one I'm recommending. It's called Where to Invade Next. This is
I've seen that.
Excellent documentary. Yeah, it's only a couple of years old, but still. What was that?
I'm 2 for 2.
You've seen both. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So for this one, it's still pretty relevant, and it's not totally old, but it basically, the premise of the documentary is Michael Moore travels different countries around the world, and he's talking about some of their ideas that they do socially, politically, whatever it is, just some of the way things are, whether it comes to education in schools, nap times during work weeks, all kind of just issues that we could fix here in America. So he goes to other countries and he talks about how they do things. Now here's the twist in the whole thing. The irony is that most of those things that he's going to other countries and invading and stealing their ideas, that's the joke, is these ideas were originally created in the States. So the fact that other countries have adopted them and now are known for them, and we totally frown against that, the idea is, the craziness behind it is that a lot of those ideas were originally crafted here in the States. So check it out. It's called Where to Invade Next, Michael Moore.
Definitely will. Again, since I've already watched it, for someone who doesn't watch any documentaries. Two good recommendations, man.
Look at Jimmy's face.
He's so happy with himself. You see that?
I am.
He's almost got like this rhythmic little music in his head, and he's just like,
I feel like he's clenching.
Clenching them. What is he clenching? Daym, what are you clenching?
I'm not clenching anything, but speaking of clenching.
What is Patricia talking about?
I don't know. Patricia's crazy.
You sound so uncomfortable. It's like, I don't know. Just want to go to bed.
I want to just unclench.
God. Why y'all put me in this position all the time?
Whoa.
I hate you guys.
Damn.
There you go.
I'm gonna play some like Vogue music or some shit.
You should. Please do it. You should. I would like to say something that I know you guys I know you guys won't care about, but I think that the girls that are listening to the podcast will really appreciate, and I want to talk really quick about this mascara that I have been wearing that is the bomb diggity.
Go for it.
Yeah. Let's.
So
we're not sponsored by this, by the way, but go ahead.
We're not, but I don't have any eyelashes. I wasn't blessed with eyelashes. So this mascara right here, called Badgal Bang by Benefit, is the best thing I have ever used. I feel like I have fake lashes and it doesn't smear or anything. So if you want a good mascara, girls or boys, I'm not looking at any screen in particular, you can get this mascara right here. That's it.
So is it just mascara, or is it one of those ones that like bond and add on like
It's a volumizing mascara with a tiny little wands. And it will give you the greatest length and volume.
So Patricia, what's the name of this mascara again that you are reviewing for our audience? It's
Badgal Bang by Benefit.
Say that 5 times.
Badgal Bang. What a nice
by
name.
Benefits. Like Badgal Bang by Benefits.
Badgal Bang by Benefits.
She bangs. Sorry.
I know you want to say he bangs, but that's okay.
You know what, Patricia?
I think in his fucked up mind, that was a Puerto Rican slant on the both of us.
You didn't even think about that.
Mind. How did you even get there?
Because Ricky Martin's Puerto Rican, and that's a song, right?
I didn't even know that's a Ricky Martin song. There's an Asian guy who sings that shit. That's all I know.
An Asian guy?
Yeah. He sings it with an accent. With his accent.
She Bangs is Ricky Martin's song.
Oh, okay. There's an Asian guy who sings it, and that's all I know.
I've never heard of an Asian.
So
I know who Ricky Martin is, but there's an Asian guy who sings it with an Asian accent, and it's hilarious.
Oh, I remember this guy. He auditioned in American Idol, I think, or so. one of these singing shows. Yeah.
Some more bad news this week. Seems like it had, this time of year it's the most impactful, but we lost a few greats this week. Starting out with Mills Lane, one of the greatest boxing referees there has ever been. Recently passed away at the age of 85 years old. Mills Lane, let's get it on.
Mills Lane is probably my favorite boxing referee of all time. I'm a huge boxing fan, and I used to just love the way he was just a no bullshit type of referee.
He didn't care who you were. He didn't take your shit.
Yeah. Yeah, he was fantastic to watch. Sometimes more entertaining than the actual fighters that he was refereeing. I was sad when he retired in boxing, and then I was happy to see him do that court, show that he was doing just to kind of see him a little bit. So yeah, he's definitely a legend, and will be missed.
Nose Lane, and then shortly after that, we lost Kirstie Alley, who I had a bit.
That was a shocker.
As a kid.
Really, I loved her in that movie with John Travolta.
Look Who's Talking.
Look Who's Talking. I love that movie. That movie.
I could stare into her eyes forever.
I never was a fan of attracted to her that way, but yeah, she was pretty popular for a while, and I would always see her on commercials or stuff appearing in different things, but never really quite followed her that way or was a huge fan, but I did like some of her movies. So
I was surprised,
but she's been out of the scene for a while now, right?
She's 71. She was 71.
71.
I can't. It was that's hard to I watched
because when we think about her movies, and
I was a kid.
So how old is John Travolta? Yeah, I was little, I guess. Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason. Like, you watch movies that you kind of see every couple of years, and you kind of think of those people at that age, and then
you know what that happens with? That happens with me with Macaulay Culkin, because especially this time of year, I always watch Home Alone, and then I see him now,
and I'm like a grown ass man.
He's like geriatric. He's like older than me. I don't know.
Oh my God, is he?
Yeah, that happens to me.
No, I don't know.
Like, it happens to me a lot. Well, because I'm into all these movies and stuff. So classic films. So the other day, Al Pacino showed up at the Video Game Awards, and he was presenting an award. And of course, I watch him in The Irishman. I see all his movies that come out, but every time I see him now, it's a little bit hard because I watch The Godfather so much, and I watch Dog Day Afternoon, and I watch just his classic films and stuff, and a lot, Scarface and Carlito's Way. So, when I see him now, it's just like, shit, oh my gosh, he's just super old.
I just looked it up, and Macaulay Culkin is my same age, 42. That's a hard 42.
Yeah, he looks rough.
Well, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Kirstie Alley and Nose Lane.
There's one other person I want to acknowledge. So I am, with all my many hobbies, I am part of the reefing community, coral reefs, saltwater fish tanks. And yeah, every time I say reefing community, people who aren't in there, they're just they think reefer. I don't get it. But anyway,
I thought of Christmas.
How can you not get it?
Well, you're thinking wreath.
I guess.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, so the reefing community, not the wreathing community.
Excuse me.
Is there a community like that? Anyway.
Grammar police.
So Jake Adams was someone who was really passionate about the hobby. And he was part of Reef Builders, and I used to watch his videos all the time. Anything he would talk about, just his passion and his love for this fantastic community. And it is a fantastic community, one of the best communities I've ever been a part of, as far as being a hobbyist of anything. Even his voice, he had just such a great voice and a speaking voice, and just real calming and just great to watch. He just suddenly passed away a couple of weeks ago. I think he was flying somewhere. I think it was Bali or something, reef related, and he died. And it's pretty sad. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
What was his name again?
Jake Adams.
Jake Adams.
Jake Adams.
Rest in peace.
So anybody out there who enjoys reefing probably knows who I'm talking about. Yeah. He was a reefer.
This kind of makes me think, about a conversation I think we were having. I think it was last week. We were talking about traveling last week. Was that last week? Anyway,
I think so. Yeah.
What? I mean, being that you're so into, the reef community, wouldn't you want to go see them in their natural habitat?
All right. So you broke up a little bit there for me. So
I'll say it again.
You're asking me again. Yeah. Ask me that question again.
So I was just, we know your reluctance to travel, but I just wonder if maybe your passion for reefing or for reefs would overpower that and maybe want to visit these places where you can find them in their natural habitat.
I'm not opposed to traveling. I'm opposed to traveling certain places.
I said reluctance. I didn't. It's a little different.
Or reluctance or whatever. No, I would love to go to Australia and see the reef over there. Would absolutely love that.
You'd go scuba diving or snorkeling?
Of course, I've been. So I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I live in Florida, so it's we have a lot of that here too. I definitely would like to go to the islands. Been to Jamaica, I've swam with dolphins, stingrays. So yeah, I'm not opposed to any of that stuff. As far as seeing this aquatic life in their natural habitat, there's nothing like it. But having it at home and preserving some of the life, because of course, there's a lot of unnecessary things that happen in the hobby with some of the animals, but the animals that are captive bred, I love that in the hobby because we're not pulling them out of their natural habitat, and they have a higher success rate if they're captive bred. So there's a lot of that going on in the community, and because we don't take care of our oceans and stuff, at some point certain species will probably only be captive bred because of what we're doing to our water. So but it is an interesting hobby. There are different obvious facets of it. It's not just all the same. I think people who are out in nature and out swimming in the waters are probably not necessarily having saltwater tanks or whatever, but it's amazing to have your own ecosystem and something you're creating and cultivating, and there's nothing like it.
Man, you got a pretty nice one, man.
Yeah.
I try. So okay, so we're about to end this podcast, and I think the best way to end the podcast, as we always do, is with the quote of the Dame.
I like it. So, I don't know who needs to hear this, but be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is just what others merely think of you. Hope that doesn't go over your head.
That was great.
Inspiring.
It's true. Sometimes
it is very true.
I think sometimes people get more concerned about the way they're viewed as opposed to who they really are. But focus on you. Be you.
Actually, I want to say that the people that know me personally and they think that I am horrible, I just want to let them know that I am even more horrible inside, in my head. So just be thankful that I'm not telling you what I'm actually thinking.
Grateful for the watered down version?
Yes.
Who could think you're horrible, Patricia?
I don't know.
Crazy, maybe? I mean, I could think of some other adjectives. Horrible? I don't know if I'd go there.
Shut up, Damien.
Well, I mean...
A lot of people hate me. I've had this conversation with you.
It's not hard to believe, Julian.
It's funny because I've almost every place I've ever worked, right? For some reason, there's some person there that hates my fucking guts, and I've never understood why. And I remember, do you remember, Daym, I was telling you this, and you were like, nah, Jew, nah, and I'm like, watch, just, and every time I'm like, you see, that motherfucker just hates me for no reason. I don't even know. There's a girl we worked with. I'm not gonna say her name here or whatever, but I don't know what that fucking girl's problem was, but I couldn't go up to her and say shit. I was a supervisor there, and if I would say anything, like, she would just glare at me. You're buddies with her.
I am.
Yeah. So anyway, everywhere I've ever worked, or like I have people in my family that just for no reason. I don't do shit to people. I mind my own business. I live my life, but there's always some asshole who
I don't think she hated you.
Has
bro.
something to say. You know who I'm talking about. So she hated me.
Maybe she was in love with you.
No, she
was. You know how like some people treat you shitty if they have an attraction to you or whatever. That was not it. Like this chick, I think like when I walked in a room, like honestly, like I think like she just wanted to vomit. Like she couldn't stand me.
It wasn't just you. And there was a reason why she behaved that way without putting too much.
Hold on, time out. I want to know why she was behaving that way.
Well,
yeah, we're not saying her name. Let's spill the dirt.
She was in a relationship with someone else who worked there, who was,
I remember that,
extremely jealous and very possessive. And if he saw her talking to a guy, it was gonna be a problem. And so she was
for the guy or for her?
For her.
So she was basically in an abusive relationship?
Yes.
Oh, Julian, you see? Everybody loves you.
She was very standoffish for a long time. Then they finally broke up and he left. Then she ended up dating someone else there. And then she turned out to be a friendly person to everybody. But I worked with her for years. I was there before you were there. And I worked with her for years and had that same experience as you did for a long time. Just, you could maybe like just get a head nod or a hello or whatever. But she was kept to herself and very standoffish. And then once she got out of that relationship, she was able to
it would be like this. Seriously, it would be like this. I would be like, I would have to go to her desk sometimes and just be like, I don't know, any simple thing a supervisor would be like, hey, you think you could work, 30 minutes later or whatever? And I would get this from her. And she wouldn't even respond to me sometimes, and I would just be standing there like a fucking asshole, like I just did something awful, and I couldn't understand it. And then sometimes I would come in the morning or in the afternoon, and I'd be like, to my team, like, hey, how you doing? And she'd be the only one just not even like looking away or dead staring me and not saying anything, like, and I would just be like,
bro. She didn't talk to anyone.
Well, wait a minute.
Man, I couldn't stand it.
Well, wait a minute. Let's backtrack. If my supervisor asks me to stay 30 minutes over, I will have that same attitude. And then the next day when he's all chipper and say, hey, good morning, I'll be like, this is the same asshole that asked me to stay 30 minutes after? Don't take it personal. Okay. She loved you.
All right. So do you have that same reaction when someone says good morning? Like, come on, like.
No, wait. Hold on one second. I hate morning people.
So do I.
If you're coming to work and you're like, hey, good morning, I'm gonna be like,
Daym knows my style. I never come into work saying good morning. For me, it was just like, what's up? Good morning.
Yeah.
How you doing? And I keep it moving. Like I'm not about small talk. I'm not about like, I don't bother people. Daym knows I'm the most offhand fucking supervisor he's probably ever had when we worked together. Like no, like that's just not what I was doing. But the chick hated me. And by the way, in that place, I had about 5 motherfuckers that couldn't stand me.
That was a strange place.
It was like a clique.
Oh, it was very cliquish in there. Very cliquish.
Now, granted, I had people who loved me, who adored me, but Damien being one of them. But yeah, tell me, Damien, many times I was a bright spot in your day, was I not? Give me that.
I enjoyed working with you when we were on the same shift.
He can't even say it, bro. It's not a gay thing, man. It's not
a bright spot in my day. That's a little ambitious, bro.
I know I was, bro. I know I was. I'll tell you one thing. Damien used to come in late all the fucking time. I saved his ass a bunch of times. Oh my God. I shouldn't have said the guy's name. But oh my gosh. I'm like, yo, just cut Dame some slack, man.
Love me.
Dame's my boy. Oh yeah, he liked you. He liked you, but I was a bright spot in your day. Certain days. I know that.
You were his
And I was one of his best performers. Wasn't fucking with me.
You were his best performer?
Jesus Christ, where is your mind at? We're talking about work.
Where was this Mons Venus?
That was so bad right now. Oh my gosh.
What were you performing?
My work, my duties. I'm just gonna shut up.
I have so many questions.
So back to the quote. So your reputation unfortunately doesn't define you. So yeah, I love the quote. Great quote. But I had a reputation for just I don't know what it was, but sometimes people don't like you. That's how it works.
Yeah, I never had that problem. Everybody loves me. What about you, Patricia? Do you have any issues at work?
Oh, you know what? In this day and age, how sensitive people are, I don't think I could. I would be an HR nightmare. I don't think I could work in a work environment. I think I would be fired.
Well, what about
you're not currently in the workforce?
No. And they're like, what'd you say, Damien?
What about in the past? You know, we're talking about things in the past.
In the past, I'm kind of like I'll tell you exactly what I'm thinking about kind of person. So for me, it's either you really love me or you really hate me. And I could give a shit about either. I just keep it moving. I
relate to that because that's one of the issues that I have is that people who tend to dislike me just don't like my opinion on things or my willingness to voice it.
But you know what? One thing that I have learned since starting this podcast is that when I'm listening to someone talk, man, I look mean as hell. And I got so many times people telling me, why you look so mean? Like, why are you looking like a bitch? I'm like, me? I'm like a little lamb. Like, what do you mean? I have like the purest thoughts, you know? But the funny thing is that I knew I could be a little bit rough, especially working in the operating room. It's very, especially with new people, we're kind of mean to them, you know, trying to get them, you know, to see how they work under stress or whatever. But I made the best friends and they hated me. They came in and they hated me, but I made the best friends after they got to know me.
Wow.
So you didn't have any anger issues there or anything like that?
Oh, I was in anger management.
Well, I think on that note, we should end it right there.
Wait, Damien, do you know the story? Is that why you're laughing?
She was a cannon.
Well, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Click on that bell icon. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, of course. Subscribe. Yeah. So on behalf of the crew, Patricia, Daym, got anything to say before we part ways?
Thank you for coming out. Good night. God bless.
Peace.
I don't know why I said that.
Like I'm in church.
I know. He's like Russell Simmons.
Russell Simmons, yeah. That's
thank you
where
very
I got
much.
It from.
Good night. God bless.
That's where I got it from. Def Jam. Def Comedy Jam.